This last, this last week has been probably one of the most difficult and painful of my life so far. And at the same time, profoundly instructive. And I want to talk about it a bit because, I present myself as someone who's meditated for over 50 years and had an awakening and all of the things that go with that. I've tried to explain along the way that when the awakening for me took place 10 years ago, I thought I had gotten my PhD. And over the years, it's dawned on me that I've just gone from kindergarten to first grade, or something equivalent. That it's a very, very, very big journey for me. And that I've been given the opportunity over the course of my lifetime to witness a truly multi-dimensional universe. A vastness that is beyond comprehension. And I was given a deep dive into the heart of it early on, 50 years ago. And then began to ask, what was that? And really thought I had found answers. I found lots of answers, all of them good, many of them seconded by many of the spiritual teachings of the world. And I felt fairly affirmed by all of what I had learned and had come to know. The awakening was that there was no Bruce at the center, there was just this multidimensional space, and yet within the totality there was the particular. As a writer, I understand that writing the particular gives a window into the universal. And in that regard, each one of us is a partner in and a particle in the totality of being. As I've said to many people, there were times where I knew everything and was very happy to express what I understood. But the journey has become one of knowing less and less. I really thought that I had moved beyond any kind of Bruce being on some level. Certainly there are days where that is beyond question. But then every so often the particles of Brucing come back, parts of them. And what is going on for me at this moment, and I share it with you not to talk about me, but about the journey we share. This journey through this thing called life is beyond mysterious on so many levels. And our desire to make sense of it and hold on to it and know it as a given is very powerful. We have minds that are locked into cognitive, intellectual formulation that give us a sense of solidity and security and the profound sense of knowing what's going on. Letting go of that is, in a way, the process of sitting still, diving deep into the unknown center of our experiential being, and discovering a vastness of reality that has no dimensionality that we can contain. Going in is also a form of going out, and after a while you can't distinguish one from the other. We are that razor's edge between the inner and the outer. And the one thing we know and we share as human beings and as individuals is that there's a certain commonality between us. We have heads, arms, legs, genitals. We move, we breathe, we touch, we have ambition, we have hope, we have fear, we have all of these things, and they are very universal traits. And we all would kind of like to know why we have all this. What are we doing in this space? What is this journey all about? And the only thing I can tell you as I've expanded in my awareness is that this journey is a small fragment of a much greater whole. And the part that we are going through is not embraceable by the mechanics of mind and body and sensation and emotion that we have been given. It's way beyond that. And that there is a collective urge to know something. And for the century upon century upon century, people have tried to know, and yet the knowing keeps evaporating, and what keeps coming back as the only thing known to have value is the cliched ideas of love, beauty, truth, in whatever measure or form they may be found. When they arrive, something in us knows we have found it. With the discovery of this knowing principle, this feeling principle, we experience an affirmation of being, that we are here for what feels like a reason. And that reason gets profoundly informed by the love experience, by the witnessing of beauty, and by arriving at an experience of the other. Through love, through beauty, through this sense of profound truth, we find a connection with something beyond our own self, and we know it to be, in some profound way, quietly, unspoken way, us. This propulsive journey into the other, to connecting with other, is mirroring a desire internally connect with ourself. To find depth in the outer and the inner is to begin to explore the boundaries of our collected and collective being. This is a powerful journey, and we would love to have some security along the way that what we are doing is supported by meaning. And there are lots of external forces trying to propose meaning to us. Many of them spiritual teachings, many of them religious teachings, many are philosophical teachings, the reason for being here. Most of us buy into something, or we just fall into something, or we're born into something, and we take that as the final totality, and we live that life as best we can, hoping and praying and believing it will carry us where we need to go. Some of us have all those belief systems shattered very early on and try to create new systems of belief. And some of us who do that find those shattered. Then what? Then what? My experience of this moment is akin to being a crab or an oyster leaving its shell with no protective coating. Nothing. It is literally being manifested as a move from my home of 35 years, my home, Blanche's home, my children's home, letting it go. We have created a truly beautiful home. Blanche designed a space that could not better incorporate us as a family, me as a person, her as a person, and yet the universe has pushed us in a way to say goodbye to it. We put it on the market. It goes on the market this week. We met with the realtors. They came and took photographs. We restaged the house in a way so it looks more like kind of nobody personal lived there. Couldn't do a totally good job with it because we still have some photos that I felt needed to be there. We still have a lot of Buddhist art, which may put off some of the community that will look at it, but I wasn't going to take all of that away. But just walking through the house, it was already not exactly mine. It could sell immediately, like within a week or two. And the explosion of departure of everything, packing. What do we take? What don't we take? Do you drag the shell along? You know, we are moving from one shell to another, a smaller shell, but a shell, and we'll find a place there for much of what we have. But the momentary transition is as naked as it gets, as vulnerable as it possibly can be. And what is pulling us forward is, you can call it attachment. You can also call it love. I'm following, Blanche and I are following our grandchildren, who we love, who love us to some degree as well, but they're grandchildren and we're not the center of their universe. They are more the center in some ways of our universe in a material sense. The pull is very strong. In the midst of all of this, excuse me, there's so much going on in our lives. The amount of dynamic things occurring is almost bigger than anything I have experienced before. I mean, I don't know if you need a download of everything, but some of you know Blanche and I are having a gallery show with my photographs and her pottery and her painting. That's happening in a month and a half. I'm trying to prepare for that. I may be writing a new screenplay, which is a new thing that I think just came up. I don't know whether it will happen. My play Ghost, the musical, is opening in Europe, and we are going to have to make a journey. Not have to, I'm looking forward to it. And we have to move across country with my children also moving across country and having to take care of the grandchildren while their parents go to take care of things. This is worldly stuff. You all know worldly stuff, but it's a lot. In the midst of this, something is happening to me spiritually I have never experienced before. It is the most crushing sense of loss and grief and sadness and despair, not personal even, although that comes into it, for everything. For the sadness of the world, for living in a world where truth is no longer what they say is truth, or there's fake news, or there's, a climate out of control, and all of these various things that are going on, which seem in some way to me to be profoundly personal. There is a crushing sense of inevitability, of things really weighing down, of real pain, psychological, spiritual suffering. And it comes in waves and then it goes away. And when it goes away, I have never felt such profound lightness, ever. I was shaving in the shower this morning, and I had no idea who was shaving me. I had no clue. Somebody, it was shaving me. I had nothing to do with it. And I thought, boy, this knows what to do. The shaving guy was really good. And those kinds of things are happening more and more. So the wave in is crushing and crunching and tearing me apart, and the wave out is washing it away, liberating. I have never felt such horror before. And of course you question, 50 years of spiritual life and spiritual sitting, and what am I and who am I and what have I been lying to everybody and teaching over all these years? And I've endlessly apologized for my not knowing that stuff. On the other hand, I feel this is a process to share. And if there's an end to it, and I've been told astrologically there is some sort of washing away of stuff, and it will have an end in a year and a half, that will be very, very liberating. What it will be, I don't know. But I've chosen, wisely or unwisely, to share this with you. Those of you who are on a spiritual journey, looking for bliss and light and joy, I can only tell you my experience is maybe that will arrive. I definitely have it in moments that are beyond understanding, but I also have the dualistic pressure, domination of higher forces, if you will, many dimensionalities crushing in simultaneously, and it is really hard and painful. And in a way, I don't wish it on anybody. On the other hand, if you are entering into a force field like that, I can only tell you I will try to report back from the front lines about where it goes. And if by any chance it lifts off into anything other than pain, I will let you know. I think it will. I think it does. I don't know that anything goes away permanently. I don't know. There's so much I don't know. It feels purposeful. It feels contractual. Like I signed up for this. Those of you guys who have been on a spiritual journey, you're signing up for this. Do you want this? Figure it out. You can back away. You can hide in a corner. You can sit and put out your shingle and just say spiritual love and advice for anybody and become that person. But I just think the honesty of going through this, and it may be the ignorance of it, so forgive me if what I'm describing is a very personal journey that doesn't have universality to it, then you figure that out for yourself. But if it has universal principle, sharing it seems important. The directive to me after the LSD trip of 1965 was, tell people what you saw, and they didn't mean it totally in the past tense. Tell people what you're seeing. It's what I've done my entire life. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. What I am now beginning to see, which is new to me, is layer upon layer upon layer of dimensional forces, higher, more informed than I, working this space that we all collectively share for something I cannot comprehend, but something that feels important and meaningful to the whole. We are part of that whole. We are essential to that whole. Our lives are essential to it. Our journey is part of something much greater. The fabric is much greater. And we are moving forward as best we can with the amount of wisdom and knowledge that whatever human mind we have can contain, mostly by letting go of understanding. You can only know that, yes, it is. It is, I am, we are. There is beauty, there is love, there is truth, there is connection, there is compassion. These are the things that attract. There is also everything else. And you all know the other dark sides of the human equation. And they are, it appears to be essential to the totality. How you deal with all of this is kind of up to you. But I was going to share one technique that has been proving to be very valuable. And I share it with you because it may help you. It's called the NOPE technique. The NOPE technique is when you are suddenly barraged by the mindful mindset elements that start to talk to you and give you grief, that tell you why things are not good, why they're bad, what you did wrong, why you should be punished, these negative things that start to come into your sphere of reference, which can become the beginning of an enormous bout of pain. All you have to do, honestly, is go, nope. That's all you have to do. Nope. You have to get it early before it takes big hold, because it will come at you from far away and it will be massive. But as soon as you are aware of it on the horizon, just go, nope. And it flies over. It can't land. It can't root. You have the controls over mind events to absolutely say no to them. Some will get through, they're very clever, and they will distort and they will cause problems, and there may come a point where they're so embedded and ingrained that nope doesn't work. What works at that point is breathing. Take a deep breath and do the practice that we do, which is essentially asking for help to surrender. Because if the nope hasn't dislodged this thing that was coming at you and it's taken hold, you have to breathe deeply into your own core and you have to ask for help to surrender. Surrender means accept. And what I have been learning, and this is really, really interesting, I never know when the big wave is going to come. I can hear the thoughts and I go, nope, 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 nope. But the big wave, when it comes with little warning, and it can really consume you. It really rolls over you. And there you are in a state of, I cannot describe it other than utter terror and oblivion, kind of. And all you can do is go, okay, okay. Help me to surrender, accept this. Let me accept even this. We learn to accept the little stuff. You got to learn to accept the big stuff. And I will tell you, I don't know what it's like for everybody. A lot of interesting people are writing me right at this moment, describing very much what I'm going through, so I know I'm not the only person having this experience. If you are suffering in big ways right now, just dive deep into the psyche of your own heart and asking for help, or into your gut and asking for help, and then trying to accept this thing is really important. In my experience, there's a wave action, so it recedes. I am aware of people for whom the receding is not occurring. They are just in it. I have such empathy and compassion for everyone who is just in it. Sometimes it's a condition that was created by parents who never loved you, failure in relationships, failure in the workplace, senses of being unworthy or unequal to the task. All of these things can come up and become dominating. They can just dig into your being and create an ongoing sense of great despair. The spiritual journey gives you a number of techniques or options. One of them is sitting still and quiet so that the weight of all of this emotionality, all of this stuff that the mind is reaffirming, can also just kind of lift off for a few moments, and you can just sit in a place of still repose. And if you're really lucky, as you go deep into your heart, this opening occurs and you enter into a place of refuge, of welcoming, that takes you in. I talk about it almost every class. This place that takes you in and you wait out the storm. Just sit there. If you're really lucky, there's a refrigerator with some really good ice cream. And you have a little bit of ice cream. And if it doesn't have ice cream in your heart, go buy some ice cream. And have a little bit of something available to just sweeten the moment. But give yourself these simple moments. Give yourself the moment of sitting on a park bench. Give yourself the moment of going for a walk. Walking is wonderful. Give yourself a moment of turning off your electronics, putting the newspaper away, just sitting. I know it can be boring at first, but if you can just sit and really just ask for help, or just allow yourself to be, this heavy weighted thing will start to have less impact. It may not go away. You may step out of the door back into it, but you have these places of refuge in yourself that you have a right to go to. If you're going through an experience of having the shell removed and total vulnerability, seek out anybody who loves you. And if nobody loves you, come here. I will love you. I do love you. And I will give you the biggest hug imaginable. I will answer your phone calls. I will answer your emails. I will hold your hand. And I will do whatever I can do, even when I am going through the dark night, because together we weather the storm. But if you don't have anyone to reach out to and you're weathering it by yourself, remember, ask for help, because help is always on its way. There is a multidimensional space that we live in. The flat, horizontal universe that we inhabit is limited in its dimensionality. But the vertical ascends and ascends. It also goes down. But in the ascension, you can reach up, and there is help there. Something greater than us. I will say this without proof, but just belief. Something greater than us cares deeply about us. When you ask for help, it will find a way. So, I'm describing a process that's happening, and I will continue to describe it as it goes along. You know, if my house sells quickly in LA, there's a vast move away from many, many people I care about and love, including my entire class there, which is the biggest of the classes, the oldest of the classes. I leave my family. You know, I moved to LA and 40 family members followed. They're all there. Our Thanksgivings were huge. We're leaving that behind. We have family on the East Coast, so we're not going to be completely alone on the East Coast, and we have neighbors that we knew when we lived there before, but it is going to be new. Mostly what I have is my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandchildren, my wife. We are going to figure it out and build a new life. This idea of adventure, the idea of excitement, this idea of newness has great vitality and is very enlivening. I recommend change as a thing that brings about newness. And when you're 6 years old, going toward newness is a really interesting choice, as opposed to settling into the stay where you are, where it's safe and sound. I mean, I'm tempted by that. I tell Blanche every other minute, let's not sell the house. Let's just stay there. Let's forget this whole thing. And she has the courage to cut, and she just doesn't care. We're moving. So we are moving, and there's nothing going to change that. So we are holding hands, moving forward, and And I will, week by week, reveal some of this, and maybe 20 years from now, somebody will hear this, one of these tapes, and go, I'm not the first one to go through this. This happens. And it even happens to people who claim to be spiritual teachers. I think it's the essence of spiritual work. I think without having had a practice for 50 years, I would not be able to do this at all. I would be crawling into a hole somewhere and living that existence. This is dynamic beyond belief. It's everything Rudy talked about in terms of growth, transcendence, expansion. It's all those things. It's very powerful. And I have the capacity and I have the ability to do it. So we're doing it. But it doesn't mean there are parts of my psyche that are still reacting, and believe me, the only way to get rid of those parts of your psyche is to see them. If something comes and reacts to what's happening, it's the part that needs to be washed away. You have to get rid of all these hidden crevices that are hiding there telling you how wonderful you are, or how special you are, or how everything is fine. You think that stuff is your friend until you realize it's locking you into a false space. Real liberation is getting rid of all of that. And it's going to get rid of all of that if you're true and you really want this journey. So, that's it for today. I thank you guys for coming. This class will continue until sometime, I think, in early July, when we will actually move from this house. And we'll see how it all plays out. I will do my best to make returns to the West Coast to see you all and hug you all. But I'll keep these talks going, probably, assuming that I keep teaching. And so you'll have something to listen to. But the real thing is the end of Ghost. I just met with the director of Ghost last week. We had lunch. We should almost have the same birthday. And we kept going back to the creation of the one line that really survives it. And it's called, "The love inside, you take it with you." And I really believe that. The love inside, you take it with you. None of us are going to be absent of that love. I will have it for you. You will have it for me. It doesn't go anywhere. It just makes the world go round. So, lots of love to all of you, to you, and class here next week. Thank you. Oh, I should ask for questions, I guess. Any questions?
Right here.
Okay, hand on the floor.
You've shared some very difficult times, or you said the most difficult time in your life, but if I know Bruce, there's been some really golden moments too.
Oh yeah.
Would you share maybe one or two?
Walking down the street a week ago was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. I walk around with my camera all the time, and I'm taking pictures of things nobody would look at, but that break me into joy. And I'm walking around the streets that I've walked around for 35 years, but with my camera. And I've photographed every curbside, every drain, everything that has, that looks like an interesting thing. And I'm just walking, and it's like I've never been there before. It was completely new. I felt so loved by time and space and being. I felt so whole. I felt so free of everything. I felt everything I was looking at was the first and last time I will see it. And it was like beautiful and joyous and beyond belief. I had dinner the other night with friends of 50 years. We all sat together and we just shared a meal. And it was like kind of what you live for, you know? My grandchildren came over last night. My grandson barely hugs me. My granddaughter, big, huge hugs. My oldest friend in the world was here for dinner. I cannot tell you the exquisite nature of just being alive. And when this dark thing comes over, I don't look for the light because at that point you don't believe it even exists. But then when this thing pulls away, there's more light than you've ever seen. It's that line I think Leonard Cohen sings about, it's only the broken heart that can let the light through. You have to break the heart open. And I have never had more of a broken heart. The fact that I am leaving everything I love, that I am grieving over what has been, because I've had a wonderful, wonderful life. You know, I mean, as lives go, I've had more dreams come true, more things happen, more goodness, more love, more joy than is imaginable. And the leaving of it is what's so painful, and the poignancy of what it means to have had a life that works at all. I've been very lucky. I've also been surrounded by people who have pain in their life, and I've been able to bring a little bit of some of the joy that their parents failed to give them. You know, like Rudy said, I'm reparenting you. I think in some ways I reparent other people. It's what we do and can do for each other. I would venture to say the movement into light is for me the biggest and most promising thing I have ever witnessed, but it is coming at the expense of every fragment of identity being crushed into nothing, which is what's been going on my whole life. You know, I have had this Hollywood career, and people say, oh my God, a Hollywood career. Screenwriters are nothing but crushed regularly. We used to have a group of guys that would get together, all these famous screenwriters, to just be together and have a, you know, dialogue to share our lives, because we all wrote privately at home. And after a year of getting together and telling the worst stories imaginable, we said, we can't do this. This is too painful. And we stopped meeting because we had nothing happy to say about the Hollywood experience. Who took your script away? Who rewrote you? Who crushed it? What studio executive threw it in the garbage? You know, how the film got remade by the director. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So people think of you as having beautiful lives, and in fact, they are really crushing experiences. But I had Rudy's work, and I saw they are crushing this ego. And I took it like that the whole time. I really did, and I thought they did a really good job with it. So, but I'm not done. I'm not done. It's still going on. And if I write this one other movie, and I won't talk about it too much because I don't know if it'll happen, but if I do write it, it may be the final ego crush rather than anything else. I really don't know. But whatever it is, look, we're all going through it. We're all going through it in our own private way, and everyone's got stuff to deal with, and it's a hard journey. When we come together, even just like this, as a group, and share this, it helps. Holding hands helps. Being with others and speaking truth helps. You know, my brother and I love my brother, but he's so angry that I'm leaving Los Angeles because he moved there with his whole family. His whole family is now having amazing success, everybody. But my brother's still having a hard time. And we went out to lunch, and we just had this talk. And the talk is the talk I will have with anybody who wants it, just pure honesty. Pure honesty, and at the core of it, the love that supports it. It's as good as it gets. I sit with people that I love, and I tell them I love them. I thank them for being part of my life. I know it sounds corny, and I know it sounds, you know, kind of wishy-washy, but I have to say it, and I do, and it feels so good. I also talk about the parts that aren't good, and I have very real, honest. You can call it dialogue. It's often monologue. You know, you guys know me. So it's, but I do try to get it to a point where we can all feel like there's a real hug. And this thing with my brother has worked. There's a real sense of he understands, one, that I really love him, and two, that I have to move on. And I get sad about it. I mean, really sad about it. He's just one of the sadnesses that comes up. So many people I'm leaving behind that I love. And yes, we're in an interconnected world, but we are also in a world that's fragmenting. And it's hard to leave people. We all know that. And ultimately, we leave everybody. So it's training in a certain sense. But on the other hand, just know that in the dark stuff, out of that also is great light. And I'm feeling the two as a continuum that needs to be there. And what I'm trying to arrive at, and I think I am arriving at, and I've talked about it a lot, but I'm arriving at aso. Aso means even this. It's okay. It's not walking around smiling continually. I want to bash people in the face who smile continuously. When Omega Institute, around the corner from where we used to live and we'll be close to again, you walk onto campus and everybody's going, everybody looks like this, and you just go, come on. It's not true. You know, you may think it's true, but the reality is real. And you will have some really beautiful, sweet moments and not sweet moments, and open to the whole thing and just go, aso. I accept what is. I accept what is. It's a real, accepting what is very easy if you're having to accept this kind of finger sandwich over that kind of finger sandwich. Accepting what is when they're taking everything away from you in your life is a different process. But when you learn to do that, there's something remarkable going on muscularly that will help you as a human being, as a teacher, as a friend, as a parent, as a husband. All of these things will go on as you learn to go, aso. Especially when your wife wants to do it this way and you want to do it that way. You have to finally go, aso. You just have to allow for this frictionless opportunity to arrive. And it's hard because Blanche and I have opinions, very strong opinions. But in the end, I know, and I'm really learning this, it's not my will, it's thy will. Or even Blanche's will, which is part of thy will. And that's how it works. And I'm really, really learning that. It's tough. It's tough to just step back and go, thank you. But that's the journey here. And I think it's at the core of what we would call a spiritual transformation. Now, if I'm wrong, there's so many good teachers out there. Go to the teachers who are bliss-filled, and go to the teachers who tell you how to be liberated from all of this. God bless. God bless. Let that be the teaching. I'm just sharing my journey. Okay? Enough? Yes?
Gail and I'm Tim. We were invited, and this is new and special, and here you are leaving, but you're not leaving. And I just feel this feels very familiar. And as I mentioned in our interview discussion, I have a connection from the past, even with your teacher, about your teacher, Rudy. So thank you. I really appreciate being here. And I know the energy, it's about welcoming, not just here and you, but that part of me that I don't listen to enough.
You listen to it enough to show up. That's a big deal. And it was pretty obvious the minute you both walked through the door that the door had opened and the embrace was starting. You guys are wonderful. And you belong here, or you're welcome here. You will belong if you stay. If you choose to move on, you'll belong elsewhere. It won't matter. But the fact is, as I said to you privately, nobody shows up here by mistake at this point. Thank you all. Love you.